All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today for a few minutes to chat and for me to talk a little bit about turning souvenir photos into strategic assets in the digital age. So let's push off. So let me start with talking about photography in general. Photography is art, and it's about capturing moments that are turned into memories. When we in the souvenir photo business think about this, we think about creating and capturing these memories so that people can savor and share them. It's never really been about a piece of paper or a frame or even a JPEG. Really, those are conveyances or output mediums that are created by the marketplace to assign value to the skills of the artistry of photography. So I always like to start there and to talk a little bit about how I think about the photo business. And we'll talk more about that as we go forward. Obviously, the consumer photo business has totally changed. Consumer behavior has 100% shifted to the phone. The phone is the medium and the conveyance of where photography lives today. Consumers are every person with a phone is their own photographer. They're creators. They're curating their own life experience and they're actually sharing that into social media. And it's completely changed the dynamic of how I think about souvenir photography and how that business is actually put together. So when I think about that, also think about the convergence on the phone. The phone is an interesting device because this isn't only a behavioral phenomenon that all of this media is living on the phone. It is literally an addiction. There's consumers are actually capturing photos and memories, and these social networks are consuming billions of pieces of media every day. And we think about the broader marketplace. That's the playing field that I want you to think about, and what we think about when we talked about the business at Disney. And then as I kind of transitioned and I think about the broader photo business out in the world as well. So let's talk a little bit about that. First, let me take a second to introduce myself. So my name is Rob Mauldin. I spent 20 plus years with the Walt Disney Company in roles in finance, business strategy, hotel operations, and operations. I was part of the launch team at Disney Cruise Line. I spent 10 years there working in hotel operations, business strategy, and finance, and shipboard revenue. I oversaw the shipboard photo operations at Disney Cruise Line. And then I transitioned to the parks and resorts, where I was a leader and an executive in the business development and strategy arm that actually built and rebuilt the souvenir photo business that manifested as the Disney PhotoPass service. That business ran at Walt Disney World, then it went to Disneyland, and then my team and I were actually able to consult across the world and the Disney businesses and help them with their photo strategy. In 2018, I actually matriculated out of Disney, and then I quickly connected with Capturelife. I've been a board advisor for the Capturelife company since 2018, and I continue in that capacity. And I do a lot of consulting and advising in multiple areas of souvenir photography across the industry, in theme parks and attractions and cruise lines and a whole bunch of other areas where I help people with business strategy and help them kind of conceive of their businesses. So let's go a little bit into the kind of how we started thinking about the transformation from a souvenir business to a strategic business inside of Disney. So Walt really was not about customer service, and although the Disney company is worldwide famous for its customer service, it's really about the customer, and it's really about customer centricity and thinking about the customer experience kind of from the inside out. And when we started to think about the photo business, and we really started to think about the evolution of the photo business, it really started at that point. And so we were able to really listen to the guests and to the customers, and that was like the starting place. And so every listening point that we were monitoring, we were hearing everything converging to the mobile device, to a phone. And what we were hearing was very consistent messaging that was coming across. And so it was about share, it was about digital, it was about get things to my phone in real time. So the instant need for the consumption of media and photos in particular was really accelerating. So it was less about take a photo, go find it at the end of the day, carry it home with me, and then maybe put it up on the wall or in a photo album and share with my family and friends. There was this instantaneous nature of the business where people wanted to take a photo immediately and put it on their Instagram account, and they wanted to be able to do that. To enable that, that was then started the drumbeat of, I want to be able to purchase and download right to my phone. That was really code for purchase, download, so I can share, but we understood what the dynamic was. Once we started to hear that, it started to change the dynamic, and we started to break apart deliberately the paradigm of how the business was put together. Disney Parks Resorts is where this started. Now that Disney Cruise Line has become more connected with a parks and resorts experience, I fully expect that experience to continue to gentrify and to create a more digital experience. But when you think about it, the business started as a very print-centric, product-centric business. It was all about, it was designed for the output. Photos were taken, creativity was done about what the output medium was going to be for the end game of photography. It was all about on-site sales, right? It was capturing those, the sale at the moment after they got off the ride or attraction. It was capturing the sale inside the store at the beginning of the park before they made it outside the gates and they made it to the parking lot. It was all about instantaneously capturing those sales. It was very business centric. So what happened was a lot of the photos that were taken, they matriculated down and they shrunk down to the photos that sold well. And what sold well meant at the time was people were willing to buy as a print, or people were willing to buy on a product. And it wasn't all the photos that people wanted. People wanted a broader portfolio photos, but that was what was economically the most highest and best used and created the most value, which that created this dynamic of scarcity. So it created this this notion where the business was tooled to actually try to extract value from the photos that were taken. And then, so it was about finding those photos that had the highest value. It was a much different business model that there is today. That ended up with a very product-focused business. The business was pitched, was presented, was put into the marketplace as a souvenir, as a product, as something that you take away, no different than a Mickey plush or a t-shirt. And it was about creating this artifact of the experience. Listening to the guests, we actually went through a kind of a broad transformation. This took 10 years and tens of millions of dollars to do, to really build the platform and make some mistakes and make some missteps and to actually evolve the business. But what eventually evolved was a business that's not 100% digital. It's not about digital only, but it's definitely about digital first. It's definitely about web and mobile first, and designing first for where customers want to be when they end up in the experience, and working backwards from a business model to actually be able to put the business together. It shifted from a business-centric to a guest-centric model. So instead of just looking at reports and analytics to see exactly what sold, it was speaking to guests and listening to the customers to understand what kind of photos and experiences do you want? What's going to round out your experience? What can we give you that you can't take? Right? Because during this whole time, everybody was now walking around with a phone that was basically their own camera and their media capture device. We had to create ways to create photos that a guest couldn't take. We had to figure out ways to get every guest in the photo and to participate in what we were doing. We had to create capture and shift focus from being output focused to being input focused. So really focusing on capture and content, and putting our creativity there and our R&D onto the capture side versus on the output side, which was a big shift in kind of the mentality of how we did product development and research and development. That created this notion that we talked internally all the time about scarcity to abundance, the abundance of content. Once we made that transitional leap and that transformational leap from scarcity to abundance, all of a sudden we were actually not trying to take a photo and trying to sell them a single piece of media. It was about creating a portfolio. It disrupted the business model that was commoditizing photography down from a product level where people were looking at an 8x10 photo and saying, I can get this at Walgreens, or I can get this at Shutterfly for $1.99, $2.99, $3.99 a print, and saying, well, that's what I want to pay for your photo. Where we broke that paradigm by shifting to abundance, shifting to a portfolio of media that actually enabled us to flip the business subtly from a product to a service. Go back to the very first page where we started, right? Let's tie back to the notion of photography is an art. The artist is the photographer. The photographer is the one that understands how to pose, how to capture, how to deal with composition, with lighting, and to capture those notions. So all of a sudden, when we were speaking to our customers and to our guests, it wasn't about the output and trying to get into this game of the commoditization of the output. It was about the service. It was the artistry of photography. It was the uniqueness of content and the depth of content that we were actually able to generate. That was a huge paradigm flip. That changed the way the whole business was done. Capturelife enables that same transformation without the same massive investment. We spent 10 years doing this at Disney. We spent millions and millions of dollars of doing this to build these large platforms. Arguably, the greatest home field advantage of probably any theme park in the world, tons of content, tons of IP, the ability to actually leverage all of that to create content is awesome. It is absolutely arguably the best home field advantage in the world, but this model works. This idea works. So take that Disney model and then let's go back to the consumer, right? We talked a little bit about at the beginning of it's a focus on social media and it's a focus on changing the way you're thinking about the paradigm of capture. There's a couple of photos on this page, which is a photo that would be a traditional souvenir photo, right? It's you standing with a pose in a location or a locale that gives them the ability to come back to that location. But a lot of these photos are not that. A lot of these photos, candidly, are not even very high quality, but they create additional interstitial moments. They create additional content that sets the time and the place and the full storyboard of what happened in these experiences. Consumers aren't just focused about saying, I'm here in this place. They want people to understand kind of what they were, the full gamut of the experience, the texture of and the taste of the experience that they're in. They want to savor and share that. They want to stand out in the crowd. They want this social currency, kind of their social currency within their friends and family and the people they influence continue to grow. They're competing with eyeballs for a lot of other people because now there's so much content in there. When you think about what you're designing to, that's the focus that we wanted to be able to drive. And that's the focus we were able to do. And the same thing that can be done within your business model and can be enabled by the Capturelife platform. So let me make a book recommendation. If you've never read this book, The Experience Economy by Joe Pine, fabulous book to understand about this idea of fighting the commoditization of a product and driving this paradigm to services and eventually into experiences. It's a book that we actually didn't do. We didn't follow that premise deliberately and instinctively, but we actually realized in retrospect that that's exactly what we did. At Disney, we were very deliberate and very purposeful about staging experiences to create memories. Whether you're meeting Mickey Mouse, whether you're standing in front of the castle, whether you're meeting Darth Vader, whether you're meeting Santa Claus or whatever it was, every single one of those experiences was choreographed. It was utilizing the goods and the physicality of the experience to as props for the photos. And we did that in a way that we were trying to create photos that people couldn't take. We knew where to stand and when the moment was going to happen, because in most cases, we were actually choreographing when the moment was going to happen, right? So we were actually utilizing those goods as props to engage individuals and customers in a really thoughtful way to build and create these memorable events. Why do you do that? Those memorable events create emotional connections. Emotional connections create a deeper connection with the brand and create a higher intent to return, a higher satisfaction of the overall experience. This is not something that Disney is the only people that are doing today. It's actually everywhere. What we're seeing is brands across the board that are making this digital transformation, and they're making these huge investments to align with this experience economy. Brands that have these large physical assets and these large physical experiences, like Six Flags in the regional theme park market, Royal Caribbean and every cruise line in the world out there, Cirque du Soleil and the experiential market, Airbnb, Marriott, Four Seasons, companies that are traditional resort and stay locations are expanding into this experiential market. It's not just about providing a resident and lodging for your stay. It's about making that stay and that experience better and broader and deeper when you're in that experience. Live Nation is the same, and in the fan experience and the arena space. Folks are actually taking these large digital experiences, and COVID has significantly accelerated the development, adoption, and implementation of digital platforms across the board for ticketing, for timed entry, for wayfinding, for interactive moments inside these larger experiences. I would argue that that's the perfect opportunity for companies and brands to leverage their media and their photo businesses to actually make connections into those large platform investments. Let's talk a little bit about more of that as well. So Capturelife handles a lot of those use cases across various industries, right? So whether it's resorts and destinations, theme parks, cruise lines, or even the excursions that happen out on islands when you actually arrive in a port, or professional sports and large venue events. I'm gonna get out of the way of my own slide. So a lot of these use cases are unique. They have interesting technology challenges. They have different levels of maturity in their experiences, but we're seeing some commonality that's happening across all of these venues. Consumer expectations and technologies have changed. We just talked about that a little bit. Brands are trying to evolve their experiences. They're trying to actually capture so that people can savor and share those moments back with their friends and family. That's the viral notion of marketing that, so we're starting to see marketing departments actually become as much or more interested in the media than the actual retail or the merchandise departments that are out there as well. So leveraging that media for kind of strategic value. Digital transformation is costly, it's disruptive, it's time consuming. Like I said, the Disney thing, it happened overnight. It just took 10 years to get there. It looks and feels elegant where it is now, but there was a lot of work that went into it to move the media around, to create this platform, and it's very difficult to do that. There's a lot of technical debt in this space where people have invested in their workflow management and their capture, their association, and that is something where some people get stuck in that technical debt and get caught, and they don't have the ability to actually to innovate, which can become a barrier for innovation. And current photo capture is often based in dated transactional business models. There are still a lot of business models out there that are about the output. It's about the print. It is about a piece of souvenir, personalized media that's on the output. Those are not bad models. I love those models. I take a omni market view of how people want to consume. If somebody wants a print, I would sell them a print. If someone wants a mug, I'd sell them a mug. If they just want the JPEG, or they just want it as to download it on their phone, sell it to them there. It's about the art and the memories. It's not about the output, and that is a difficult transition when you're trying to actually cover your cost of innovation and technology and your cost of labor. Two biggest costs in photo operation are those. It's technology and labor. So you have to cover that. And so Capturelife enables all of these models to live inside of one ecosystem. So let's talk a little bit about a couple of use cases, and you can learn more about these three use cases I'm going to quickly touch on. There's blogs that they're out there. There's a recent article that was put out in Blue Loop that you can actually go read more about these use cases, or you can contact us and we can tell you more about them. So Club Med is a unique one. This is more like a traditional model. They're a pioneer in the all-inclusive resort market. They were looking to actually kind of upcycle and upskill their photo operation. They wanted to open a post-vacation sales opportunity that they did. So they were able to actually connect photo capture and to connect that into the overall resort experience. We were able to connect to their property management system that opened up some additional functionality that they didn't have, so that and integrate a little bit more deeply into their platform. Think about it a completely different way. Now shift away from the souvenir sales market and shift into fan experience through the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks had a completely different view of the world. The Atlanta Hawks view on fan experiences, they are absolutely looking at making investments in service and experience. They're going to drive a higher return on the overall experience. That chose them to, that led them to a decision where they were actually going to give all the photos away for free. It was about interacting with the fans and having fun, creating memories, creating experiences, and actually giving them souvenirs and shareable assets that were branded that extended the interaction with their fans. So they chose to do that. They've seen incredible uptake, where 82% of the photos that were taken that some people came back and viewed and downloaded and shared. So an incredibly different business model than what's traditional, but again, enabled by a business strategy that's driving value in a different strategic way on a platform that has the flexibility to do all of the above. Let's talk about the last one, the Enchant. Enchant Christmas is a pop-up photo vendor that actually creates these, it's not even a photo, it's an experience that is actually done during the holiday season that brings lighting and a deep Christmas holiday themed environment that happens to have a visit with Saint Nick as part of the experience, but it's really about creating an ecosystem of holiday decor and a much deeper, richer experience wrapped around the notion of the holidays. They leveraged Capturelife last season to act because they wanted to upscale and they wanted to, again, kind of take advantage of the full connectivity of the system. It was integrated with their ticketing vendor, so you could actually pre-purchase photos before you ever arrived. You could buy the entire platform of all of your images. You were able to actually, they had multiple photo locations at their location in DC, not only with Santa, and they were able to drive very high kind of purchase rates at an account level because of that. And so it peaked at 78%. So we had great purchase levels, and this is a souvenir market. This is driving tangible experiential value of actual sales at the event, but having a different view of the overall business. And contact us more if you want to learn more about any of these individual ones, or if you have a business that follows these same paradigms and you want to learn more how that can apply to your business. So let's talk a little bit about kind of how it works. The Capturelife, from a development standpoint, was like we mentioned, it's a mobile first build. So the benefit of creating a greenfield brand new product is there is no technical debt. You can start from the very beginning, and Capturelife from day one has always been envisioned as a mobile first, mobile friendly, guest centric platform. So the experience actually starts with the end and how the experience is going to manifest with your customer and with the guest. So working from there, you can actually, we've created that experience to understand how to make it really simple, seamless, easy to use from a mobile standpoint. The real secret for those that are in the industry and that really understand how this model is done is really an association. So it's about the ability to take an individual photo or an individual series of photos and deliver them from camera to phone, point to point, individual to individual, is about association. It's about, at the moment of capture, of collecting some piece of metadata that actually that associates with the photos, creates an index, creates the ability for a consumer to very simple and seamlessly, in some cases when it works really, really well, it feels like magic, that actually happens to put the media inside their account. Capturelife's has built that ability with a very simple Android-based application that allows you to associate media through RFID or for QR code and for a variety of other methodologies to actually associate that media. Once you have these two elements, where the media is going to manifest and how to make the association, it's just a choice after that. How are you going to view it and how are you going to sell it? Capturelife has the ability to go full digital. If you want to just eliminate the need for on-site sales locations and the footprint for on-site sales locations and the labor for that, you're able to go fully onto the phone or integrate it into ticketing systems and pre-selling it before people ever arrive to the experience. There's a lot of locations that still want to do both. They want to do a hybrid of selling via mobile or selling pre-arrival, and they want to sell on site. That's totally fine. Having the ability to pop up kiosks to either sell digital photos and packages or prints and other things, that's super simple to actually integrate that and to think about how the platform's put together. We can do all of those. Again, if you want to learn more, circle back with us and we can give you an in-depth description of how any of the platform can be attacked to your business as well. So think about Enchant. Enchant was the closest to what I would call the Disney PhotoPass service. Remember that that when you re-platform the business to a service, it changes the way you're speaking to who your customers and your consumers are. You're not selling photos. You're selling access to a photo service. You're selling access to an omni-channel platform where people can make transactions pre-arrival. They can make their purchase. It's actually mind shifting a little bit in the photo business that you're actually selling photos that you haven't even taken yet, right? This is more akin to a wedding business or a wedding service, right? You're hiring a photographer to ensure that you're getting the photos you need during your special event. When you actually flip to this model, Enchant did the same thing. They sold a lot of photo packages pre-arrival before anyone ever came, before that first photo was taken with Santa, before that first photo was taken in front of the giant lit ball that they were actually the Christmas ornament. It opens up the ability and the full channel to talk to your customers pre, during, and post. It creates ongoing sales opportunities. We still are seeing people viewing and purchasing photos from last holiday season from Enchant. It creates this long tail of interactions where you're not only selling more stuff, but you're creating deeper connections and connectivity to your brand. It makes it super flexible and gives you lots of choices to speak to your customers as they're moving through your experience. Another really important one, we talked a little bit earlier also about that brands are making these huge investments in digital platforms and ticketing systems and timed entry systems and how you make reservations or ordering a drink on the deck of a cruise ship and it magically gets delivered to you. That's all being driven through large investments in digital platforms. Capturelife also has the ability in any system that I would argue that from a souvenir photo standpoint needs to be focused on being embedded into those digital ecosystems for multiple reasons. When we did it at Disney, within single digit number of weeks, it became the most highly engaged function on board the app at the time. It drives eyeballs into these experiences and it drives traffic into these platforms that brands and companies are spending a whole lot of money for, right? So Capturelife has the ability to do that. And any system that I would argue that's out there that has a large brand that does that, this is taking a souvenir photo product from a tactical souvenir and driving it to a new level to where it's going to become a strategic asset for marketing, a strategic asset for the brand. And that opens up a completely different value stream of how this media is actually used. What that means is you have to be flexible through APIs and the magic of technology. That experience has to seem the same. Capturelife can do that. And this is a model where it can be branded. It can be white labeled. It can live within the experience in a way that it looks seamless and it looks like it's always meant to be there. That's actually difficult to do, but when it works, it's really, really elegant. So let me sum up some of the things that I've been kind of talking through and be really explicit on some of the kind of guiding principles that I think about when you're building these kind of magical photo experiences. Differentiated service, introducing differentiated imaging service for guests throughout the experience. This is really about capturing photos that people can't capture, getting, we used to have a catchphrase that we used to use in marketing all the time, which was get everyone in the photo, right? It was a very easy way to say, we understand that you want to take a photo with your mobile phone, but your photo's only as good as your arm is long. And at night, those photos aren't going to be great because night photos don't look great on a phone in most cases, right? So creating, when you think about this kind of differentiated service, how are you creating additional media, deeper buckets of media for people to actually expand what they want to buy? Again, this is innovating on the input and innovating on the capture side and not on the output. It's not about coming up with the next great picture frame or the next best photo puzzle to actually expand revenue. The real revenue is on the other side. The real revenue is expanding the market, expanding the average spend, and driving people to the portfolios of a service and driving people to actually buy a higher, deeper portfolio of media and not letting the business get commoditized down to a single image. That is actually going to lower your average spend and it's going to pull the business down. So additionally, it's driving incremental revenue, right? It's like driving incremental revenue and profitability associated with the memory capture business. We talked about the two biggest costs of the business is technology and labor, right? So we understand that this is not free to do. Not all consumers understand that, but we understand that this is about driving incremental revenue. So we know that that's part of the business. The real found value, and the one that I would challenge people to really think about, is strategic value. Strategic value is leveraging the service offerings and the guest deep interest in their media that drive event memories and drive strategic value. So it's really about trying to create optional and additional ways for brands and marketing and the brand folks to drive larger value across the platform to drive that. One thing that I'd leave you with as well is a common purpose. This was literally our common purpose in our photo department: capture memories that create, capture moments that create memories for your customers to savor and share forever, right? That common purpose, when you think about creativity and you think about the artistry of photography, it is, it's not about it's not about the business of photography. It's about the artistry of photography, and really the ability to create this this higher common purposes, again, that focuses you on capture and creativity and not about the output. If you focus on output, you're going to end up in this product centric business, which is why, from a purpose standpoint, it's about capturing memories. It's about creating things that people want to savor and share. It's about capturing as much content as you possibly can, not about capturing the least amount I can afford to actually sell to a person. Last thought, and then we're going to see if we can open it up for some questions and some, and maybe I can hit a couple of additional points. I'm not just a business development person, that I'm actually a consumer of the artistry of photography as well. This is a photo taken with, my gosh, I don't even know what the point and shoot camera was when this was taken, because this was taken more than 20 years ago. But this is my moment. This is my family's moment where we use to mark time. That's my now 21-year-old daughter sitting in my wife's arms. And this is the photo we take every single time we go to the Magic Kingdom, right? And for us, it's about us in the photo. For the brand, it's about the brand that is living in an omnipresent way as part of this photo. I have now imprinted and created an emotional connection with myself and my family with this brand, right? Walt understood that. Walt Disney understood that photos and media had this universal appeal that spoke a universal language. That's what we get to utilize today, right? It's like, that's why that photography is fun. That's why photography, when people 15 years ago came and said, oh my gosh, your photo business is going to die because people have phones, they're going to take their own photos and they're going to compete with you and they're not going to buy what you're selling. That's not true. Through that whole premise, we were able to re-platform the business, rethink about the business, put it on a strategic plane, drive it into a different way that actually we're able to combat that. So It's actually about growing the business, right? The market for memories and the market for photography and the market for media is bigger than it's ever been. My encouragement is to hopefully you've taken a couple of grains and a couple of interesting ideas, and you can apply that to your business, or you can apply that to your life. Let's see if we can kind of hand over to Scott or Alex and see if there's any questions that we have here.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I'll jump in.
Yep.
Hey, everybody. This is Alex Pitney, Director of Business Development for Capturelife. First of all, thanks, Rob, so much for going through all of that. We did get a few questions in, so let me pull those up real quick.
Yep.
All right, first question we got in was, with the flexible app model, could you connect it to multiple website accounts similar to stringing apps together? So Rob, I'll take this one.
Yep.
For that one, it's a bit unclear as to what the question is. To be happy, the questions are coming in anonymously. So whoever asked that question, feel free to type any kind of clarification or follow up with us after the webinar. We'd be happy to take a deep dive into that one with our solutions engineers. But just to kind of confirm here, so like with our example with Enchant Christmas, so these customers that are coming back year after year, they'll have the same account every year. And so the new galleries will show up with their account next to the old galleries as well. So hopefully that kind of answers the question a little bit, but if any clarification needed there, please feel free to connect with us. info@capturelife.com. We'll be happy to take a deeper dive into that one.
Right.
The second question that we got in was, jump back here. What does abundance look like for an attraction? Rob, you want to take that one?
Yeah, that's a great question. So all media and photography is not created equal, but that does not mean that it's not nearly equal in a consumer's eyes. Right. So if you let's take a theme park and exactly how we used to think about this from an abundance standpoint, right? Consumers are going to take what they paid as the numerator of the equation, and the denominator is how many pieces of media did I get for that money, right? So if I paid $100 and I get 100 pieces of media, they will quickly do the consumer math to say, each photo cost me about $1. That's a heck of a good deal. They're actually utilizing that math to kind of push to that commoditized model. So the way that you use abundance to combat that from a consumer model, it could be when you interact with a set of consumers, you're taking a photo, don't take one, take multiple poses, right? Every Walt Disney World and Disneyland photographer is not trained to take a single photo at every single interactions with guests. They're actually trained to take somewhere between 6 and 10, right? So after every single interaction, they're stacking content into an abundance model that's, I'm going to take a long shot that's portrait that actually shows the sense of place. I'm going to turn the camera and zoom in landscape. I'm going to take a nice close shot. I'm going to get the kids to pose together, the parents to pose together, the family to pose together. Again, this assumes you have the time to do that, but it's more about creating more capture and more content every time you interact with a guest, number one. And then it's creating additional photo captures. At Walt Disney World, we linked all the photo booths at Walt Disney World into the PhotoPass platform. So that was a photographer we never had to pay, that never went on break, and all of that media gets linked into the platform. All the attractions photos that actually happened on all the rides and attractions, all of that gets baked into the mix. We created photo studios where you could actually go and step out of the experience and have a small little curated photo experience to be able to do that. We created digital overlays, and it's like the easiest way to go look at this is go look at the Disney PhotoPass Instagram account. They're a great inspiration for how to actually create additional abundance in that marketplace.
Awesome, thanks, Rob. So another question kind of actually on the same vein here, and maybe dive a little bit deeper into what you're getting at with that last one. Do you have some creative suggestions for creating more content?
Yeah. And yeah, actually, Alex, I'll keep pushing on that. Is like
Yeah.
when you're thinking about, and I think I mentioned it earlier in the webinar as well. It's a simple concept is get everyone in the photo, right? It's like creating ways to actually get everyone into the photo. A lot of things that you could do either as a physical creative solution to create photos kind of instantaneously in the camera, or there's some ways to do that with digitally with some post-production, right? Physical one is picture frames, little handheld things that actually have logos that can have hashtags on them. They can say Magic Kingdom or my first visit or it's my birthday, things that you can actually hand to a guest. They actually has the ability to create media right in the camera, right? And again, if those are your props, those are capturing photos as part of your platform and your business that a guest walking through can't take a picture with their camera because it's just not easy to do that. You can also do that digitally. You can put digital overlays. It's like the number one photo, the digital overlay photo that's taken at Walt Disney World is have someone hold out your hand and just do this, and a picture and a digital manifestation of Tinkerbell shows up in your hand. That photo was taken before I ever joined the photo imaging team many years ago. And that photo still is taken today. It's a super simple activation. Again, it's a photo a guest cannot take. So you're trying to create ways and you're creating, leveraging IP to create additional media to get you to abundance.
Great, thanks, Rob. Another question that popped in: how do you typically approach pricing for a photo program?
Yeah, that's a really interesting and important question. As you think about this notion of scarcity and abundance, what you'll start to think about is you're trying to drive people higher from an average spend standpoint, right? So instead of thinking about the entry level price point for a single photo, we've had a lot of conversations with people that say, well, I'm just going to get rid of the individual photo price and actually just sell the single product sell the all you can eat package. Actually, I would provide the hypothesis that that's incorrect. In my view, that single photo is your reference price. The reference price for people to go back to the equation that I talked about earlier that said, I paid $99. I got 100 pieces of media. That's about $1 a piece. That's a good deal. And if I just bought one of them and it's $20 each, the break-even point's 5, right? So if I'm getting 100 pieces of media, the break-even point's actually very good because if I just bought them a la carte, I'm only going to get 5 pieces of media. You want to think about pricing holistically and kind of think about reference pricing and where you want to be, because a lot of people will still buy those. Their wallet won't support a $100 purchase, but it'll support a $20 purchase. That's totally fine. You're looking for ways to actually extract value for people that just want a single souvenir. But there are a lot of people out there that actually want all of the media and they're willing to pay for it.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep.
A couple more questions here. So what type of post-event purchase rates are you seeing?
Yeah, it depends. That's a qualified it depends answer. It depends on how much is happening pre-sale is happening. It depends on how much is happening on site. It depends on what the photo is, right? It's like the post sales of Santa Claus and Mickey Mouse are a heck of a lot higher than post sales of me standing in front of something, right? The fidelity of the photo capture and how that hits from a memory and a remembrance standpoint actually drives higher rates. We'll typically see, I don't know, 20 to 25%, but I will tell you that from a Disney standpoint, the business shifted almost immediately from a pre-sale model to a post-sale model. And part of that was once you happened, that was the initial digital transformation at Disney. It's actually shifted now to mostly a pre-sale model. So most people are actually buying their media before they've ever seen it, before they ever arrive at the experience, because those that see the value can be enticed back to the pricing question of buy now and save. If you buy now, and this is the model at Walt Disney World, if you buy the Memory Maker package at Disney, the exact same package that's there being sold that when I left in 2017 for the exact same price, $169 if you buy it before, $199 if you buy it on site, right? You can create those pricing ability to advantage people that are willing to commit early. So it really, the answer of like what the post-sale answer is has a lot of depends to it that we can talk you through depending on what your business model entails.
Great, thanks, Rob. We're getting a couple more questions in here, so move on to the next one. Next one is, can you expand on the technology or app that allows to take a photo during the customer experience and send it instantly to the customer?
Yep. So that's a more in-depth conversation to have, like specifically how that works, but at a high level, what happens is when the photos are associated to a piece of media, or they're associated to, they have an index, right? To whether it's to an RFID code or to a ticket, that code or ticket gets associated to an account. And when that magic happens and the index gets associated to the guest's account, that enables those photos, that enables communication to happen either via text or an email to the customer. But once that link and that connection is being made, any other subsequent media that's associated and connected to that index medium, that QR code or that RFID band or that park ticket, the photos will then auto-magically end up in their account, and it will show up. And I never like to say real time. I like to say near real time, or what I would call right time, right? Because there's some photos we would take at Disney that we wanted to look at first, right? Not every photo instantaneously goes to the web without some curation or some preview. Our rule at Disney was that any photo that was taken automatically gets looked at by a human, right? So all of the ride photos, all of the photos in a photo booth where a human didn't click the shutter button, that gets previewed. And then eventually, very soon, same day, typically same hour, will show up on someone's phone. It significantly accelerates that connection.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah,
that's a great question, by the way.
Yeah, it is a great question. And just a couple points to add on to that. So the Capturelife platform has the ability in a few different ways to collect that guest information, whether that's through integrating with some backend systems. So like Rob mentioned, through a ticketing platform or anything that already has the guest information living within it. And then there's also the ability to collect that information in real time during the event as well. So we have a couple of different, pronged approaches to that. And then there's also a few different ways, depending on where that customer data lives, to associate it with them. And like Rob mentioned, getting that pushed out. Any further questions or anybody interested in having a little more insight into what that process looks like and what the technology and the app looks like, we're more than happy to do a demo and show what it looks like live as well. So, please feel free to follow up after, and we'll be happy to do a deep dive for that and kind of talk a little more strategically what might make sense for your organization as well. All right, another question we got in. Please feel free to keep asking questions, everyone. Would it be a good idea to contact third-party photo capture companies that could assist in the creative department and technical departments to assist in issues with capture, associating, and post-production that could integrate into your system? And then the follow-up there is, what companies would you say are leaders to look at for comparisons?
Yeah, so I think the way I tee this one up is I have a huge focus, and this is where I would, if you're going to invest in R&D and you're going to invest in creative development of the media, I absolutely would be scanning the landscape for what others are doing that are kind of leading in that space. I'd absolutely be looking at cross industry, right? It's like I have seen stuff because I across multiple industries between theme parks and attractions and excursions in various parts of the country, in Europe, in Asia, in EMEA, in all of those areas of the country. I am constantly scanning, and I have a wide, deep network of folks that I speak to all the time when I hear things that are happening. And you'll hear the same themes, right? You'll hear augmented reality, and you'll hear photo booths, and you'll hear all kinds of interesting things that people are doing, super zooms, and all the kinds of the things that are out there that are do. I like having those conversations with third-party companies. I think that if I was investing, it's I dislike investing on output. I really like investing on input. So I do think it's a good idea to be reaching out to third-party companies and absolutely set up Google alerts like I do and watch for those things that are emerging into the market. It's about creating that content. What companies would I say are leaders? It depends. It depends on what you're doing. It depends on the application. And if there's people that are out there that are really, really good at specific niches of the market. There's some really small folks that are out there that I think do some really wonderful things. Again, contact me offline and we can talk about that more if you have a specific use case, and to think about how to market that into your business.
Perfect. Thanks, Rob. Well, that looks like it's it for the questions that came in. So we'll go ahead and wrap up for everyone. So first, thanks again, Rob, for sharing your insight and some strategy here. And thanks everyone who joined today. We hope you're able to gain some insight from Rob and learn about ways that you can either create or really transform your guest or attendee photo experience. So hopefully you've gotten something out of today that'll help drive engagement, revenue, and or brand loyalty for your attraction business. Last little note here, again, if any of you will be at the Museum Expo in Boston coming up in May, please definitely let us know. We'd love to connect while we're also going to be there. And lastly, please don't hesitate to reach out if you think of any other questions, interested in connecting with Rob or myself. Again, Alex Pudney, Director of Business Development at Capturelife. If you're interested in a demo, learning more about the platform, please let us know. Feel free to email info@capturelife.com, and we'll be in touch with you swiftly.
Cool.
Thanks again, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your days.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate the time.